People who have had a stroke appear to regain more hand and arm function if intensive rehabilitation starts 2 to 3 months after the injury to their brain. A study of 72 stroke patients suggests this is a critical period, when the brain has the greatest capacity to rewire, a team reports in this week's journal PNAS. The finding challenges the current practice of beginning rehabilitation as soon as possible after a stroke and suggests intensive rehabilitation should go on longer than most insurance coverage allows, says Elissa Newport, a co-author of the study and director of the Center for Brain Plasticity and That's not when most people are having their rehabilitation. Newport was speaking in place of the study's lead author, Dr. Alexander Dromerick, who died after the study was accepted but before it was published. If the results are confirmed with other larger studies, the clinical protocol for the timing of stroke rehabilitation would be changed, says Li-Ru Zhao, a professor of neurosurgery at Upstate Medical University in Syracuse, N.Y., who was not involved in the research. The study involved patients treated at Medstar National Rehabilitation Hospital in Washington, D.C., most in their 50s and 60s. One of the study participants was Anthony McEachern, who was 45 when he had a stroke in 2017. Just a few hours earlier, McEachern had been imitating Michael Jackson dance moves with his kids. But at home that night he found himself unable to stand up. My ability to move was diminishing in front of my eyes, says McEachern, who is now a professor of visual and performing arts at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. After the stroke, McEachern spent a week in the hospital getting treatment and more than a month in a rehabilitation center. He slowly regained the ability to walk. But after returning home, he still had trouble with basic tasks involving his right arm and hand. Normally I could jump in the shower and 20 minutes later, I'm showered, dressed and out, he says. After the stroke, it took him 2 hours. The study was inspired by earlier research on the rehabilitation of animals who have had a stroke. When rehabilitation begins too quickly, you can often make a stroke bigger and worse, Newport says. When rehab therapy was delayed briefly, you got very good success. And then as you got farther out from the stroke you didn't get any success anymore. In the study of stroke patients, participants were randomly assigned to receive an extra 20 hours of intensive training that started during one of 3 time periods, less than 30 days after the event, 60 to 90 days.